Hello, good day and salutations. Welcome to the Perler Project. Today's rather lengthy project will be the creation of Sonic the Hedgehog in true 16-bit form. Sonic is Sega's mascot and was first introduced in 1991. He went on to be the mascot for Sega throughout their various console iterations, and while Sega are no longer producing consoles, they're still a third-party publisher and Sonic does find himself appearing in various games. While there have been 31 Sonic games to date, he has also appeared in various crossover titles as playable characters, for instance Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as well as Phantasy Star Universe and Samba de Amigo. Sonic's main ability and his prime characteristic with the games was to run at supersonic speeds and curl up into a ball to attack his enemies. This was a characteristic introduced in the first Sonic game and has continued to be the present characteristic for Sonic throughout his various gaming iterations. I chose to work on Sonic for this particular project because this was my first gaming mascot that I actually grew up with, and it was the first gaming mascot that I was introduced to as a kid, and therefore I thought it was only fitting to be the first mascot that I would try to create in Perler form. As you can see, this is a bit larger than our usual Perler projects, and in fact I'm using two oblong shaped boards, two large oblong shaped boards. Each board measures 15 centimeters width by 21 centimeters in length, and they are simply clipped together to form a much larger board. The creation of this particular design was done completely by eye. I took a screenshot of a Sonic game and simply extracted a Sonic sprite from this screenshot, blew it up to extreme proportions, and went about creating this design pixel by pixel. Because of this, I had to improvise quite a lot of the time and I had to make guesses. The actual design of this whole project took about 1 hour. Obviously I'm not going to upload the full video as I do not want to bore you, but it was quite a painful little project and there were times where I did feel that I was really getting nowhere and I was tempted to actually stop. Having said that, I must admit I'm glad that I carried it through. There are some changes that I would probably make in the future and I will explain them to you in a tiny bit, but it also gives you guys an idea of how long such a project will take. As I said, I didn't have a Perler design as reference, but I did use a blown up sprite from the game itself, which when you do blow it up to the proportions I did, you could see each pixel individually. The biggest issue here is one of colour coordination. While the majority of the colours were very easy to select and very easy to put out, the two main areas where I had massive difficulty was the blue on Sonic's forehead, as well as the gloves and body shading. So let's start off with a big problem with the blue colour. The sprite chosen had 4 distinct blues. There was a very dark blue, a slightly lighter blue, as well as a very light blue and a colour that was somewhat in between. This particular colour was almost a cross between a blue and a purple. The issue, however, which I had, and the biggest concern for me, was the fact that I did not have 4 blues to hand. Therefore I thought I would try to improvise by making one of the lighter blues a sky or pastel blue and the other one a turquoise colour. While it was not perfect and it didn't look that great, I still went ahead with the ironing of it because this was my first attempt at making a large Perler pattern and I thought that I would actually see it through. In terms of the gloves and the body, however, the issue was slightly different. I did have the colours to hand. I had greys, I had blacks, and I had various browns and creams and flesh colours to hand. That was not the problem. The problem here was the fact that the glove design in the sprite I had chosen was one that was very much grey on grey. There was a darker grey and a light grey. I initially created the design using black and grey beads, but this did not look that great, so I had to swap them out and use white and grey instead. As for the body, there was a contrasting cream with a slightly brownish colour. However, when looking at this design and looking at the design I was creating on paper, I had opted to put a cream and flesh colour together as I felt they seemed to suit each other better. Other than that, the actual creation of the design wasn't that difficult. The whole concept of putting beads together and ironing them so they stick was very easily achieved because there was only one diagonally placed bead, and this was on the trailing foot of Sonic right at the tip of the shoe. You can easily rectify this by placing 2 beads there rather than just one, and therefore allowing them to stick to one another, as I have done in this video and you can see in the final product. Even when you do have all the colours necessary to actually complete this design properly and based on the colours shown in the sprite itself, there is also the issue of actually measuring and making sure that everything fits. As you already saw in this video, I had made at least one mistake where I've had to move the front foot up one row so that the design is consistent with the sprite I was using for inspiration. So with this in mind, I would probably recommend that you measure out your design properly before attempting to start. In any case, as we're coming to the end of this particular project, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and learned something new, and I hope to see you for another Perler project soon.